You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
Welcome back. Here's a look at some of the recent political headlines. Lubbock County's election coordinator has resigned. You've seen Dorothy Kennedy on our show a lot over the years, deciding to step down from the role she's had since 2003, but didn't give a reason. The county's election commission will now work on finding Ms. Kennedy's successor. Governor Abbott announced the state will continue construction of walls and barriers along our border with Mexico. Mr. Abbott says $1 billion has been set aside in the state budget for security measures, and a task force on border and homeland security will be set up. All he says to stem the flow of unlawful immigration and illegal contraband. He says Texas also has a new partnership with Arizona to work together on this problem. And the governor also signed the 2 bills to reform the Texas electric grid after that deadly February freeze. The grid we're part of now in Lubbock, of course. Senate Bill 2 changes who sits on the Electric Reliability Council. Senate Bill 3 makes weatherization requirements for power generators and establishes a statewide outage alert system. Governor Abbott says the bills are sufficient, but some energy experts say it's not enough.
Bottom line is that everything that needed to be done was done to fix the power grid in Texas.
There's a lot more we could have done, and really the priority of Senate Bill 3 was around winterizing or weatherizing the power system. Not enough was done on gas, almost nothing was done for our homes and businesses.
And natural gas prices are up 133% year to year. LP&L says that will be reflected in your upcoming bills. LP&L usually has a reserve fund to cover those fluctuating costs, but that money was used up during February's winter storm. The governor also signed House Bill 1522, officially making Midwestern State and Wichita Falls part of the Texas Tech University system. That begins September 1st and seems to be an easy win-win for both sides. Our PJ Green has more.
All of the students, staff, faculty, and alumni, welcome to the Texas Tech University system.
Currently in the Texas Tech University system, the Texas Tech University Health Sciences Centers, Texas Tech University, Angelo State, and joining them on September 1st, Midwestern State University.
We'll be working very closely with folks at MSU Texas to formalize this partnership and make it a reality. We're all looking forward to the days in front of us.
It's just right for us because it infuses strength without at all diluting our identity.
As the official day approaches, MSU's transition team will be getting the university ready to be a part of the system.
It means things like budget transfer, getting our policies in place, because the system runs things a little differently than we do.
While this may seem like a big change, Shipley says the system lets the presidents of the institutions remain in control. The biggest changes will be Tech's expertise helping MSU administration and Tech's influence in bonds and legislation.
I don't think the campus or the students is going to see much of a change.
Although MSU staying an independent university was a goal when she took over in 2015, she says it's a testament to the Board of Regents that this decision was made.
We didn't dream it, but it just shows you that times change rapidly, and if you're going to be a strong institution, you need to be flexible and change with the times. And for that, I thank our board. Our board took the courageous step of saying, we're going to make a major change because it's the right time, and I really applaud them.
PJ Green in Wichita Falls. You know, we mentioned earlier that West Texas will be a speech destination for politicians over the next 18 months. And we saw former congressional and presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke in Lubbock recently. He was talking to folks about election reform in Texas and voting rights. But it was more than that. You know, O'Rourke is also part of a new Democratic organizing group called Ground Game Texas. And part of what they do is to try to get you interested by focusing on issues rather than candidates. O'Rourke talked to our Grace Morris about his speech at Wagner Park and more for 5 good minutes.
You know, this is less about mobilizing Democrats as it is mobilizing for our democracy. We have elections bills that were just hard fought in Texas, SB 7 as an example, others that were passed in Georgia and Florida and Iowa and other states. We recently had an insurrection at the U.S. Capitol in January of this past year. And you've got a complete breakdown in bipartisanship. And so what I think we need now is the ability to come together as Republicans and Democrats and figure out how we make the world's greatest democracy work again for everyone. And so when we're at Wagner Park this evening, we're inviting Republicans and Democrats alike to come out and have this conversation.
So why was Lubbock an important area for you to come by?
You know, I feel like as someone who comes from El Paso, which is as far west as you can get in Texas, so often West Texas and the Panhandle are written off or forgotten by the rest of the state. It's almost as though they don't know we exist. And so I think it's really important that we make a point of showing up and listening to folks and listening to everyone, and not saying, you know, we're only going to listen to Democrats, we're only going to listen to Republicans, but you listen to everyone, because we're all invested in the success of this country. And we really face a crisis of democracy at this moment. And I think the best way to meet that challenge is to have people come together in a civil way and have a public conversation about what's important. And we may disagree, we may agree, but I know that we can do it civilly, and that's very much a hallmark of Lubbock, of El Paso, my hometown, and I hope of Texas at large.
So kind of turning to some of the things going on in the Texas legislature right now, I know that permitless carry has been a big topic of conversation. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
You know, last year in Texas, there were 6,000 licensed to carry firearm permits denied for various reasons. It's one of the reasons that law enforcement has been so unified in their opposition to permitless carry in Texas. We actually have a very proud, long tradition of responsible gun ownership in this state. And we've owned guns for hunting, for self-protection in our homes, to collect them. But when we're able to carry them in public without any background check whatsoever, without any training, without any licensure, we put the public at risk, and we also put those hardworking members of law enforcement at risk as well. So this is one that I really hope the state legislature at some point will reconsider, but I respect the decision that they've made so far.
Okay. And sort of turning to Lubbock a little bit more specifically, we just became a sanctuary city for the unborn, and there's been quite the lawsuit between the city and Planned Parenthood itself. Recently got dismissed actually this week. So kind of walk me through your thoughts on cities around Texas becoming sanctuary cities. I think Tyler is looking to kind of turn into one of those as well. Just tell me your thoughts.
You know, I hope when we are discussing this issue and legislating around reproductive health care, that we remember the cost and the consequences of otherwise well-intentioned policy decisions. For example, Texas is at the epicenter of a maternal mortality crisis right now. It means that we have women dying in this state at record numbers. That has a lot to do with the lack of access to reproductive health care, to being able to see a doctor. You know, going to a Planned Parenthood clinic might involve something like a cervical cancer screening or a reproductive health care checkup, or just being able to see a doctor in the least insured state in the country. So this is really about health care at its core. And I just want to make sure that everyone has the ability to make their own decisions about their own body, receive the medical treatment and advice from a doctor or a healthcare professional so that they can be well enough to live to their full potential. And I think that might be some of the common ground we're looking for on this issue.
Do you have any plans to throw your name in the hat for governor?
Not at this time. I'm really focused on this fight for voting rights. And once that fight is over, once we've been able to secure voting rights for everyone in Texas, I'm going to think about what capacity I can serve in that will do the most good. That could be running for office. It could be supporting others who run for office. Whatever it is, I'm in for the distance for Texas, and grateful to be back in Lubbock and traveling the state again.
Yeah, so in the March primary, do you think your name's going to appear on the ballot anywhere as of now?
I don't know. I don't know. The filing deadline isn't until December, so we have some time to think about this. But the great news is there are a lot of great Democrats out there, and there are a lot of great Democrats who are paying attention to Lubbock, to West Texas, to rural Texas, to the farmers and ranchers who are so often left out of the conversation. I think that's a good sign. I think you'll see some good candidates come out of that.